Well, hello. I am glad that you're back. I'm very glad that you're back. I had a really good night's rest. How about you? Yeah? All right. This is good. If you didn't, sorry to hear that. Uh, I might be able to help you with that. You know, talk to me after. um, Today is going to be another heavy hitter. But before we get to that, I want to get some housekeeping out of the way. So, I had a few questions kind of like on my private message after. And so I'm going to say it a little bit clearer. We'll talk about that right now. You can find me on all available podcast feeds. And the name of the podcast is Not Your Average Shaman. And that podcast has slightly different content. It is about deep dives into why I started this path in the first place, how I got here. I do talk about some very deep personal things. So I keep all of that information on my podcast. The next place that you can find me is, well, on Instagram as kl.the.shaman. If you are having trouble kind of searching that out, I've been having major issues with Instagram with that. Some people find it, some people don't, that sort of a thing. So just send me a message with your Instagram and I will add you. Make it simple. All right? Next place you can find me, that would be on my YouTube channel. It's not a big YouTube channel just yet, but the more you subscribe and the more that you click the notification bell, hey, it's not rocket science, I promise you. And I'm streaming there live right now too. So if you prefer not to be on Facebook, you can go over to YouTube and see me live there now. I'm also on Twitch. So if you're a gamer and you happen to pause a game, if you happen to pause your game, you can always catch my channel there, KL the Shaman. That aside, let's get into it. Today's topic, we're doing part 2 today. We are talking about this dating crisis and we're talking about men and dating. I told you guys yesterday, hey, I'm going in on guys too. And I found so many topics within topics within topics. I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole on this. I wanted to keep it concise. I wanted to keep it to the point. So I made a list. It's not really my thing. I'm not a list maker. But when it comes to having some very poignant, coherent thoughts, I find that it helps. So I made a list today. Now, before we get into it, you need to understand a few things. This piece of content is not specifically geared towards women. It is not specifically geared towards those who identify as women. It is not specifically geared to those who prefer the pronouns that follow anything to do with females. Now, if you happen to be female, her, she, even them, or other, you're welcome to listen. You're welcome to take it in. You are more than welcome to try to understand it. But be aware that it may seem confusing, and it's just because I'm going to go in deep dive on Manspeak. There's a clear difference between Manspeak and mansplaining. I will not be mansplaining. I will be manspeaking. Now, if you happen to be one who identifies not as man or male, but you happen to be carrying the physical and physicality, embodiment, and body of a male species of human, you are more than welcome to listen. You are more than welcome to stay. You may even find that you connect with some of what I'm about to discuss. And for that, I applaud you. Now let's get into it. Men and dating. The majority of my contacts in terms of clients and in terms of spiritual work that I do, the majority of my clients tend to be women, tend to be female, or those who identify as such. And for various reasons. And it's normal, it's natural, because women tend to connect faster. And that's the only difference I've found. With men, there's a series of logic processes that happen in order to try to understand what you're going through. That happens long before there's a connection. Major difference. With women or females, those who identify as such, it's an immediate connection. Something is wrong. And I need to know what that is now. Okay? Big difference. What I have found within the dating world, especially when I look at apps like TikTok, Tinder, Instagram, even I was on Likey a few months back, it's atrocious. Truly, truly atrocious. There's no other word for it. There is a reason, in fact, there are a plethora of reasons why women complain about men. Guys, this is not a fallacy. It's not a conspiracy. This is truth. Because I see it all the time, and I answer hundreds of questions on it. So there is a problem. Even if the questions are misguided in any way, shape, or form, there has to be a problem that stems out into needing to ask those questions. So let's begin some of this manspeak. If you are familiar with cars and engines, and you've had your particular vehicle for a while, guys, you get to know your vehicle because it's a thing. Like you are mechanically in tune with how that vehicle functions. The moment that it doesn't function in the way that it functioned yesterday, you know there's a problem. Long before any sort of warning or indication lights come on. Because you can feel it. You can feel it. So, man speaking here for you. The same way that you know instinctively, instantaneously, when something's wrong with your vehicle, that you know how it feels, how it sounds when it works well, that indication is the exact same as how women immediately feel when there's something wrong with a relationship connection. There's literally no difference between the two. So use that as a point of reference for when she starts acting different. It's just like when your car starts acting different. Something is wrong. Okay? That is not just simplifying it. That's putting it simply because that's exactly what it's like. Now, again, man speaking, do not expect that your partner has been taught, trained, or has developed within themselves the ability to understand how to communicate what they feel is wrong to you. That's not an obvious thing for the majority of relationship partners on this planet. So don't expect that. It's not an expectation to have. It's actually a very unrealistic expectation to have in any form of relationship, that the other person is going to tell you when they feel a disturbance in the connection or that something is wrong. Most women in relationships have been simply taught to investigate the problem. Now, because women have done this for many, many years, it's a part of their DNA. It's what they do. They'll investigate a problem before they just come to you and ask you, hey, what's wrong? Now, over the many, many, many years, many men have also been taught to never admit there is a problem. So you act on trying to negotiate what's going on in your mind as a man without realizing that that is creating an energetic disturbance in your connection to your partner. She, on the other hand, is going to feel that disturbance regardless of whether you say anything, regardless of whether or not you keep your actions quiet. The connection is all that matters. And when that connection is disturbed, she's going to feel it. I can hear some of you guys right now, your mind is going, but it's the truth. That is 100% truth. So let me give you a minute just to kind of mull over some situations that I can see some of you right now are just kind of going through the back of your mind and like, oh. Yeah, that little moment you just had right there, now you understand. So I'm going to say something now that's actually started my list because I haven't even addressed anything on my list yet, but I'm going to right now. So the very first thing I put on my list was, and again, preamble, Manspeak. Guys, just stop for a minute. Just quit fiddling with the remote. Just stop listening to your phone going off with all of those notifications from 1,200 different people that you really don't even care about. Just listen right now. I want you to pay attention to my face, my expression, my eyes. Hear me. It's the first item on my list. And I'm using this as an exact phrase, not to be interpreted. Quit being a consistent asshole. It is a fallacy to believe. Well, in fact, you know what? Before I say that, let me just repeat that. Quit being a consistent asshole. It is a fallacy to believe, and has always been a fallacy to believe, that women like assholes. They don't. Women have been taught that you're supposed to like an asshole. You don't. Let's just correct this once and for all, shall we? Now, what do I mean by quit being a consistent asshole? In that specific phrasing, it's a really, really specific sentence. Sometimes you are going to be an asshole. Let's just call it what it is. And sometimes you could be a really funny asshole where your partner says, God, you're an asshole. But she isn't completely disturbed by it. In fact, that level of borderline intimate play could be kind of a turn on for her. So yeah. But does that mean you're a consistent asshole? No, that doesn't. Again, man speak. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Being a consistent asshole is the equivalent of when you have your buddy come over to help you adjust something on your vehicle. And he's been coming over for at least 6 months, just to help you out. But every time you tell him, hey man, pass me that 3/16, he hands you a 5/8. That guy. I'll pause for effect. That guy. Right? It's a consistent asshole. I mean, after 6 months of coming over, you don't know what a 3/16 is. Dude, I think we're going to need to restructure our friendship here. So think on it from that context. It's not fun. Not even remotely. So what consists of being a consistent asshole? That'll be the real question. Because let's face it, man brain style, you often run tests because it's just our nature. The curiosity of, I wonder what would happen if I did that. That is a general curiosity. Now, side note, I want to point out here, I'm not pointing out the things that are bad, because these are things that are part of us. That curiosity is what made you so deeply interested in your partner in the first place. If you didn't ask that question, man, I wonder if I go over there and talk to her, she's going to respond. She's got 6 friends around her. Ooh. Challenge accepted. That's what you live for. It's all a matter of knowing when and how those tools are required and when to use them. There are times you are going to have to be an asshole in your relationship. That's a fact. Does it mean that you're going to have to be an asshole to your partner? No. But I guarantee you, in the world that we live in, sometimes you have to be an asshole to people that will attempt to disrupt the connection that you have with your partner for whatever reason, whether it's jealousy or just plain stupidity, or people who are just that nosy and they don't like to see you happy. You have to be an asshole to defend that honor. And that's good. That is amazing. That's a real formidable tool in that context. But towards your partner, it's just not good to practice being an asshole consistently, because there's so many other things that you could do to make your relationship a lot more secure. It's not really a good time trade-off. The time that you spend trying to concoct ways to be an asshole to your partner, you could have actually be spending that time solidifying your position with your partner so that the two of you can go out and do some real damage. Like, you can have a partner in crime, or you could have a criminal partner. Like, it's up to you, like. So just consider that. Again, I just want to point out, I don't need to go further than that on that topic for Manspeak. Next point. I got this other point. I'm going to read it out too. Well, exactly. Well, especially on this part. I'm just going to say this part just to kind of finish that thought off as a punctuation, okay? If you find that you have to be an asshole to your partner, woman or otherwise, she or her or other is really not worth you changing your good-natured character just to have them because they're hot. That's all I'm going to say on that. Mull that over for a bit. Rewind, listen to it again, and really take it in. Next one on my list. This one's going to be heavy. Do not put women up on pedestals. That will ruin your life. Do treat them as you would a queen when they inspire you. This is male-interpreted reciprocation. So I'm going to read it again for you guys because I want you to get it. Do not put women up on pedestals. That will ruin your life. Do treat them as you would a queen when they inspire you. This is male-interpreted reciprocation. Now, for those of you who still didn't quite get it, I'll give you a bit of an explanation. The first part, don't put a woman up on a pedestal. Even the world's most invested gurus will tell you this. If you have to put a woman up on a pedestal, the underlying and high-flying red flag is that there are self-esteem issues. She solely and wholly depends on you to be the one to put her out there as a trophy. That relationship isn't going to last long. It's not going to be permanent. And the platform on which you need to maintain that relationship will not only drain you, but in some cases will cause your health to deteriorate. Yeah, I said it. I've observed this for years. I've had personal observation of this for years. So I know for a fact that that is something that is a very real possibility. I can only speak from what I've seen. And I have seen that. So what does it mean for you younger guys who are getting into the dating scene, right? You know, what does it mean to put a woman up on a pedestal? A couple of things, actually. If you're holding her as a trophy in your mind, that's putting her up on a pedestal. If you can't say no to her, that is by far the number one biggest show of the fact that you put her up on a pedestal. Do not be confused about the fact that a woman needs to hear no. It is extremely important in your relationship to be able to formidably, as a guy, say no. You have to. It's very important. It is an important part because as a person, you're coming into a relationship with your individuality, something that she was attracted to. If she's concocted a scheme to get you to do something that is outside of your character, it could be only one of two things, really. One, this is a new experience that you haven't had before, and she is interested in you enjoying something that she's already enjoyed, and therefore would like you to just kind of step outside your comfort zone. Even at that point, you have the right to say no. But I would encourage you to follow up and say, here's the reason why. So if you think you need time to learn how to step outside of your comfort zone before you take something on like that, be straight up. Tell her, say, look, that's a biggie right there. I could, I love you, but no, I'm not swimming with the sharks with you. You go ahead. You can jump in the cage. You can swim with the sharks, baby. I love you. I'm going to stay on the boat. It's okay to say no. As a man, it is okay to... I can't repeat this enough. It is integral to your integrity to say no. Not an aggressive no. We're not talking about, no, rah. We're not pulling that Viking stuff yet, right? But you have to be able to say that. And your partner should be able to respect that you said no. If they throw a hissy fit and a tantrum, well, you need to have a conversation. That's part of putting out on a pedestal. Enabling them to never, ever be adjusted to you saying no. And that's what really putting a woman up on a pedestal means, or your partner up on a pedestal. It is the fact that you enable them to treat you however they want to treat you. That's the pedestal. Okay? So, do not put them up on a pedestal, because that will ruin your life. Now, I've given you context. Second part of that, do treat them as you would a queen when they inspire you. Now, remember how I said earlier on that if you have to spend a lot of time being an asshole, it's not worth it? Right. You could spend a whole lot of time developing your relationship by being inspired by that person. Again, remember the premise that I just mentioned. The two of you are coming in with your individuality. You both were attracted to each person's individuality. So why would you waste time being an asshole when you could simply spend the time understanding more of them as a person? Because I promise you, you will find something more every day that they do, or that they have done, or that they have experienced in the past which they didn't quite tell you yet, that will truly inspire you. It's kind of unforgivable to not open yourself up to being inspired by the person that you have agreed to be with. Truly, like, as a guy. Because you're denying that part that I talked about where that curiosity happened. Your curiosity led you to be with that person. You accepted the challenge of approaching that person or inviting that person to approach you. And yes, that does happen. A lot of guys experience that. Women just approach them and say, oh my God, you're hot. It happens. It really does. So bear that in mind with this premise. Be open to be inspired. Open yourself up to be inspired. Allow that person to share something with you and engage in that thing they're sharing so that you could be inspired. You have to want to be inspired by your partner because that's what's going to drive the reciprocation. When it comes to being in love with your partner, the deepest aspect is that you are so connected to them, they never really have to ask you to do anything. Now, let me put that in context and in perspective. Whether or not you have the skill set to repair the sink or the carburetor or even take out the trash, it's completely irrelevant. Your thinking through the filter of inspiration is, yeah, I gotta take the trash out. She's asleep. I don't really feel like having her take it out. You don't feel like it simply because you understand it might just make her a little uncomfortable. Go do it. Now, in the other part of that paradigm, where if she feels that she could quote unquote man up, she can do it. I got this. Don't step in the way. By doing it, you're indicating that you are not inspired. So you have to give room either way. You know your partner. Let me say that all right. You know your partner. If she is a warrior princess that will battle to the death, knees cut off, hands cut off, she'll bite and claw her way with her hair. She has to. She's not going out like that. Don't step in. Again, you have to know your partner. It is excruciatingly important for you to know your partner. So why waste time negatively affecting your partner when you could just spend a lot of time knowing your partner? I mean, let's talk, let's say, Walking Dead situation, and you really didn't know your partner. How do you know if she is going to militarily help you protect a zone? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? If you don't know that she has that in her or that potential in her because you were spending all your time just being an asshole, it's kind of going to be on you if you're shocked by the fact that she could take out a battalion, not even break a sweat. You see what I'm getting at? So this is important. Know your partner, be open to be inspired. The next one is trust yourself implicitly. There are a lot of guys that experience lack of trust in themselves, and it causes them to be debilitating. If you're that guy right now, trust me, my friend, I feel for you. I've experienced it. I know how earth-shaking and shattering it is. But over time, every step you make, every step you take, ensures that you are developing the confidence to trust yourself implicitly. Let me go further by saying this. This is going to rub some people the wrong way, but I'm still going to say it. If your parents are telling you something that in your heart of hearts and deep, deep thoughts are, they're just not going to work out, you still have to trust yourself implicitly. It's a harsh reality for parents. Truth. That is different from kids that willfully go out of their way to be an asshole. At some point, I might deal with that, but that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking specifically about this aspect of trusting yourself implicitly. As your own manhood develops, you have to be able to look back in time and see situations where you thought it was hopeless and you still made it through. You're here right now. You know what I mean? Like, you're still here right now. No matter what sector of social life you live, no matter what tier of social acceptance you experience, know that you're here right now because you have crossed those boundaries. And you have to have the self-respect to know that those actions you took, that came from your mind. So trust yourself implicitly. The added thought to that, do not guess, know who you are. The only way you can know who you are is through the experiences that you take on. That's how you really truly test your mettle. Being an asshole is a natural thing for a guy, mentally. That's not testing your mettle. Testing your mettle would truly be to, I want to get to know my partner. I mean, heck, we're in May right now, so we still got like a little over half a year to do this. Why not make that something that you do this year? You know, go to your partner, say, and since we are men, and we do love a good, show, almost like a Shakespearean thing men love to do. Hello, I'm a man. Oh my God. Go to your partner and you tell them, you look them in the eye and you say, for the rest of this year, I am going to get to know you. Like, make it dramatic, man. Just give it. Just go to your partner. Like, if your partner's watching this with you right now, just do it. Just do it. Go ahead. If you're driving, watch it. Pull over. And look your partner in the eye and say to them, for the rest of this year, I am going to know you. Just that alone is going to be so much fun delivering that. Because it's fun. It is fun. It doesn't mean it's not going to be a challenge. Accept the challenge, regardless of whether they decide to actually put extra challenge on. That's a whole different topic. But accept the challenge, and instead of being a consistent asshole, or feel like you need to be the asshole in the relationship, just flip it. Flip the switch. Flip it like you were flipping a house. Yeah, for real. It'll work. The last part, well, second to last point. I'll have to read this one out. It's about narcissism. The core principle is focus, and you need that to complete things in your life and to avoid getting caught up with haters. Narcissism gets a really bad rap, in my opinion. It is a tool that is necessary to life, but it has been misused. It has been abused. So, understanding the root and core of what narcissism requires in order to be narcissism, it is extreme hyper focusing and filtering. The extreme hyper focusing usually is on one's self and one's desires, which means that the filtering is, I don't care what's out here. If it happens to come within my purview, I will find a way to get rid of it because it does not compete. Again, the Shakespearean thing. That's narcissism at its finest. Everyone else usually gets hurt when you extend narcissism out there in most contexts. But the truth is, if you're really going to truly be successful in this world, you have to hyper focus, because the majority of the people around you, usually even the closest people around you, will tell you, ooh, I don't think you should do that. Man, I don't know about that. That's, ooh. How else are you going to get through it if you do not become narcissistic? Do you need to be narcissistic with your partner consistently? No, not really. You don't. There are some times in a relationship where you know that a thing is going to work and you have to present it in a way that your partner will at the very least, trust that they know you enough to know that you're going to find a way to see it through. That's where a partnership is truly tested. Again, that's just another thing for another time. The point of it, don't just be narcissistic in your relationship because you can. It's kind of a waste of efficiency, a waste of time and energy, when you could spend that time and energy being a lot more efficient in your relationship by getting to know them. Truly getting to know them. So you might ask, why? Why would I want to get to know them? I've been with them for like 20 years. Why would I want... I know them. You might be surprised what you know and how it compares to what you don't know. Do you really think that after 20 years you absolutely could not be inspired by your partner anymore? That's a big question that you would have to ask yourself. I can't answer it for you. Quite frankly, I don't know you that well. But you can. Yes, you can. So truly ask yourself that hard question. When you take a look at your partner, do you see the possibility of being inspired by them? There are three things that you could do at that point. Do nothing about that intuitive answer that just hit you in the face. Do something about that intuitive answer that just hit you in the face. Or be completely numb to the answer that just hit you in the face. So that choice remains yours. I personally would encourage you to take action. Take the necessary action that would prove you wrong. And best way to do that, you look your partner in the eye and you say, for the rest of this year, I am going to get to know you. Now, the last point, especially on narcissism, know when to employ it as a tool and not as a way of life. Pretty sure that in Manspeak, that's kind of self-explanatory in terms of what we just previously discussed. Okay? Now, That concludes the list. And I'm sure it's a lot to take in. And I'm sure it's a lot to process. Give yourself the time to process it. If you were watching this with your partner, and she's probably going off right now, oh my God, ooh. I am giving you permission to kind of ignore that right now because you need a minute to process. Take a walk, take a drive, go outside, have a smoke, have a toke, relax, sit with a beer. If you happen to be on a wide open land, take the kabuki, head out. If you have horses, take a ride. Whatever you need to do to truly process this information, let it really sink in and understand how you can apply it to your life, because you will need to do some adjustments from what I've said in order to incorporate it into your life in a way that is going to be effective for you. And I respect that. Because you're a man, you've come up to this point, and you've been doing things that have been successful for you long before me. So I get you. But I honestly believe that if you give it a good peace of mind process, you will indeed find a way to make what I have said today work for you. And if you do, I applaud. That's all I got for you today. And I really appreciate you spending the time. So, like, subscribe, follow, click the notification, share, tell all your friends. I try to go live within half an hour of when I announce it. We'll chat again soon. See ya.